Hello, thank you for watching Telco Steve's Workbench here on YouTube. Today, we're going to be doing a video about dismantling a Kellogg Candlestick telephone, otherwise known at the time in 1921 as a Kellogg desk set. That's what they called these, and this video is about tearing apart one of these guys. Now, I did this video primarily for my reference only. I wanted to refer back how I went about doing it, and it was really for my own use. But as time went on, I realized, well, maybe somebody else will want to do the same thing I did. For example, I wanted to polish the transmitter housing, the faceplate, and the switch hook. In order to take the switch hook out, I had to take the candlestick apart. Now then, I might have referenced some items differently than otherwise what they're really known as. For example, I called it a curved washer instead of a compression washer. I called it a connection point instead of a stem. I called a stem bolt not a stem bolt. I called whatever the case may be. There's really no reference material about what these part numbers were except for an alphanumeric assignment for individual screws. For example, the transmitter faceplate screws, the screw in the back that held the bell housing, etc., etc. So I used this video so that I could remember basically what I did, and to assemble it was just the opposite of how it was taken apart. So hopefully these videos will come in handy for you, and if you're looking for doing that sort of thing, this will be a good reference for you. I want to thank you for watching my video, and if you want to see the finished product, take a look at about the 18 and 19 minute mark, and at that point there'll be a little venue of different photographs of the finished product, and you can take a look at it at that point, since the video is rather long. Thanks for watching. Hello, welcome to another rousing adventure of Telco Steve's Workbench. Today we're going to be addressing a candlestick telephone manufactured by Kellogg. We're going to be polishing this guy because he's really in semi-terrible shape, and after looking at him we can see that he did have a nice brass markings, but it is fairly tarnished on the back. So with that, we're going to be taking him apart. So let's start, shall we? Take the spit cup off. Just unscrew him. Use an original spit cup. I'm going to leave all my parts over here so that I don't lose them. Remove the handset. Find and locate the 4 screws that hold the front plate on. Once that's off, you'll notice that on the inside there's two leads. So let's take them away from the mouthpiece. And they're located here and here. This one's a darker lead, this one's a light. Over time, the colors on the leads, the cloth wires, do get a little distorted. This one looks like he might be red and blue. This one looks like he might be blue and red. They look almost identical. So let's pull this one. He appears to be a different tracer with red. I would assume that at one time that was green. Looks bluish now. Now what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to take our soldering iron and take these leads off, because we'll be pulling them through this protector piece, and as you can see, we're not going to be able to get that. So let's take these. I'm doing that, I'm going to put this on hold, and then we'll come back and we'll see after those leads are off. Okay, now that the leads are off, we'll be unplugging the soldering iron so we don't burn our feet. The next thing to do is to locate the screw that holds the top neck perch piece. Unscrew it thusly. Don't lose the screws. Next, do the protective 2-wire piece on the inside of the transmitter. Locate the screw in the center of the bell housing. You can always get it back later. But now, this piece is now loose here. So, lift up this piece so it clears the hook switch. And now you'll see your leads right here going up to here. So just pull here's one. Pull it. And it feeds through. And where it feeds through is this center piece. Now, that center piece, let's talk about that. Get a 13mm socket. Stick it down the throat of it. And you don't. First check to see how tight it is. It was fairly tight, not real bad. And it's a retaining nut. And you can do this several different ways. The whole object is not to lose it. Now there was a piece that was in here like this. That's a captive piece. So we have this with this that looked like the beveled in was facing downwards, as it would be like this. Now just lift this piece out. As you'll notice here, it's between here, the bell housing slips with the round disc between the two knuckles of the what did I call it? This piece. And lo and behold, another piece just slipped out. So there's two of these guys in there. Then there's another clip that almost appears that he's like this. Pull him out thusly. There's a center drive pin that keeps the threaded piece rod this way. And he sits in there and he pivots on that rod. Just poke him a little bit. You might have to use a drive, something where you can drive it out. And then just pull out. Now, notice, this piece must face like that inside, because that's where that screw was. These two are for the drive pin that hold the bell housing to the threaded shaft. So we've got this piece out that we can use, and that will be polishing. Put all of your pieces in one spot. There's always somebody interrupting during these videos. Take the two screws on the bottom plate, unscrew them. To take the bottom plate off. We got the bottom plate off. Here's where all your connections are on your terminal board. This particular one is a newer rendition of the Kellogg Candlestick. More than likely, it has some patents on the back of it. More than likely, this one is probably 1908 and not a 1901 version. It does have the newer strip on it. It's got the cord that wraps around. Looks like it has an extra lead there that is going to the handset. Now we can take that off later, but the whole idea here is that notice how the hook switch, what the hook switch does. When he presses down, he releases the contacts between these relay units. The switch hooks. That's a switch hook. Okay, he's got a little roller bearing. So just pop, press, move. Okay, so that he's out of the way. Let's do it one more time. And as you can see, there's a drive pin, another drive pin. So while I go get a hammer and a larger saw, just kidding, I'll be right back to drive that pin out. Make sure he's clear from the hook switches, into the cavity, and lift this piece out. Now, something I want to tell you. As I lifted him out, there was a spring on the one side, and we're probably going to have to look at the pictures on this guy, but I do believe he was on the smaller profile of the hook switch. It's a drive rod, I guess, of some sort. But anyway, this guy, we'll put him over here. This guy here, he needs to be polished, so the only way to polish him is to literally take him out of the body. The next part's going to be a lot of fun. The next part entails getting this ring off to see whether or not he's steel or brass. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the hook switch assembly off. With the two screws here and here. Notice how the two wires that went to the mouthpiece are under this lip. Lift that aside. These two screws are screws that are fairly clean looking. They are stainless steel, I would imagine, or chrome. And they are a machine screw, and there's two of them. They've got a rounded head. Then, as I mentioned, these two wires were beyond that lip. Okay? This lip. This has another protective piece that sits down here on the bottom. And you can even lines up with the holes, and lines up with the screw holes right there. So it lines up with the switch hook, and you just take this piece, move it off to the side. Take the two wires that are going up through the gullet of the body of the stick and pull them out thusly. Now, in order to get this guy off, and we're going to probably have to, I thought I was going to have to actually pound that with a hammer, but as you can see, it's just unscrewing from the base of the stick. It's a round piece. It's got somebody's hieroglyphics on it in pencil. The bottom side has no pencil marks, so the bottom side that faces out towards the connections has pencil marks on it. That's just a note so that I know what's going on. This guy then just pops out. You kind of rock him back and forth, and then he'll pop out thusly. When you do that, you'll notice this piece comes out, and you'll notice this piece. This piece was a collar retaining ring that sat inside like that. So, once again, and when you put this guy all in, you have to have him positioned so that this see if we can position our ring. There's little nips in here, and what those two do is you follow those through with the base of the stick, the shaft of the stick, and you just put it in thusly like that. That'll assure that this matches up with the bottom. The bottom of this guy on the stick is threaded. Now, this one here, we can either do this one or two ways. We can clean him, we can clean him up, and we can put him on the buffer wheel to see whether or not he's stainless steel or not. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to get a magnet, see whether or not he is steel or not, or brass. If he's brass, the magnet won't stick. If he's steel, the magnet will stick to it. So, we have a magnet. And this is a tool that I've had for some time. It's a little screwdriver on one end of it, a straight blade, and a magnet on the other end. And he's magnetic. Let's not lose all our parts. That's the retainer ring. Let's check this guy out. Yep. He's steel. And unfortunately, he's steel. So what we'll do is we'll mess around with that later on. And we'll see whether or not we can make any headway with that aside from this video. So the next that you'll see is that you'll find that the candlestick is pretty much in disarray. It's in several different pieces, a lot of things going on, but it's necessary to take them apart in order to get them cleaned up and looking to their best. So, I want to thank you for watching another edition of Telka Steve's Workbench, and we'll see this candlestick after he's all cleaned up.